the one and only podcast by a blind wrestling fan.
Wrestling, 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 wrestling in the dark!
Hey up guys, welcome to Wrestling in the Dark, where it's time for the top talking points from the 18th of May 2020 edition of Monday Night Raw. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, and let's jump right in. Number 1. Let's talk about Seth Rollins. I love everything that they've got going on with Seth Rollins right now. I missed seeing him on a weekly basis when I wasn't watching main roster. It was the Messiah storyline was one of the things that I kept an eye on while I wasn't watching, and it's definitely one of the things that's helping to get me hooked back in now that I'm making an effort to watch. And it just feels good to be able to finally watch something with Seth Rollins in, because I've always been quite a fan. I've always enjoyed his work, and it feels really good to be back. And all of this stuff that he's got going on so far since I've come back is just great. Do I hate him for going after Alice as a character? Yes. Oh my god, what a terrible human being. But in terms of just the character and the storyline, man, I just love all this stuff. This week was great. He had a really busy night. Initially, he comes out to explain his attack on Rey Mysterio, and let's just talk about this then, okay, shall we? WWE loves to kayfabe injuries. We all know that. Anytime someone gets hit with something or sent to the hospital, they're always like, internal injuries. And it's no different. I just couldn't wait to see how what they explained the extent of the injuries were going to be. I knew it was going to be funny. And apparently Rey has possible nerve damage of the eye that the doctors need to take a deeper look to understand the full extent of the injury. I was just sitting there thinking, okay, there are much simpler things that you could have gone with, but okay, they are such a sensitive place. There's so many different things that could go wrong, and just, to go as far as needing to say that you've got nerve damage, it's just classic WWE. Seth says when he comes out that sometimes to find yourself you have to lose who you are, and when Drew beat him, it sent him to a dark place. He thought he'd lost everything, and it was so dark that he never thought he was going to escape, but now he's seen the light and it's brighter than it ever was before, and it's all thanks to Rey Mysterio. He says that some people have described his actions as heinous, disgusting, unforgivable. Some people have described it as a penance, the price that Rey Mysterio pays for his disbelief in Seth Rollins. But Rollins doesn't see it either of those ways. He thinks that it was a blessing in disguise. It was a necessary evil. It was for the greater good, because it gave him the clarity that he needed to be the leader that he should be. And he says that from the bottom of his heart, so that when they meet face to face, it doesn't need to be said. Rey Mysterio is welcome. Saw it coming, knew that he wasn't going to say sorry, still laughed, still thought it was awesome, just pulled my earphones out. That, honestly, I just loved this. Then this brings out Humberto Carrillo, and he stands up for Rey Mysterio, says that Rey is a hero to millions and Seth is just a coward, and Seth says that he respects Humberto. He respects the fact that he's standing up for his idol, for a legend, for a great human being. But Rollins isn't dressed for a fight. Murphy is, though, because he's got a match later on and he'll be obliged to fight him. And so they do. They have a quick match, and it's not long before Murphy picks up the victory. Humberto doesn't completely not get any offense in. He gets a jawbreaker. He levels Murphy with a pair of kicks at some point, sends him spilling to the outside. He's gonna go off the top rope, but Seth distracts him momentarily, so when he does, he ends up getting caught by Murphy and eventually eats Murphy's Law. And I thought that was cool as well, just a quick thing there. And then later on in the night, because it wasn't done, Murphy has his match with Aleister Black, and Austin Theory at this point is at ringside. He's beaten up and despondent. We'll get to that later, but for now, he has left Zelena Vega's stable. We'll get to the details of that later on, but he's there, he's beaten up, he's despondent, and Seth is just focused on him throughout Aleister Black and Murphy's match. He's just staring at him, wondering what he can do, and Aleister and Murphy go back and forth. At one point, Aleister goes for a kick and Murphy dodges and he hits the post, and it allows Murphy to get back in a little bit. He gets a knee and goes to he gets a knee and goes for the Black Mass, but Austin Theory ends up coming in and attacking him from behind. Then Theory and Murphy attack Aleister Black. They give him knees to the face, knees to the back. They just generally beat him down, and then Theory joins the Disciples, and I just thought all of this was absolutely great. I love Seth picking up these people who've been rejected and discarded. I'd quite like to see Liv Morgan join. I think they could easily work her story into joining this, and maybe even Tucker down the line if this is going to end up going on and having this singles run and they're just going to cast Tucker to the side. Maybe just make a story out of that and have him join down the line. I don't know whether he'd fit, but I'm sure they could make it. And I just really thought that this Seth Rollins stuff was great. His delivery on his promos, the hilarity of them kayfabing Rey's injury, Humberto Carrillo coming out and standing up for Rey, Murphy just being the loyal disciple. And honestly, if we're going to get a Seth Rollins Aleister Black feud, that could be amazing, because you've got Seth as the Messiah, and if he carries on poking the beast, poking the bear, you've got Aleister Black there that's easily the little antichrist figure of this religious connotations type storyline. Just loved this, it was great. Number 2. Drew McIntyre gets put on notice this week by Bobby Lashley, thanks to Lashley's new partnership with MVP. And as far as Drew McIntyre goes, talk about a solid reason why I'm getting hooked back into Raw again. He's charismatic, he's charming, and then he flip a switch and he's the most angry, scary man that you can imagine, and I just love the way he's being booked as champion. I love the way that he portrays himself, the way that he cuts promos, the way that he talks trash in the ring. I just love everything about Drew McIntyre right now. As for Lashley, I didn't think that I was going to enjoy a Bobby Lashley storyline when I came back to Raw, I can tell you that now, but I definitely am. I think that this dynamic that he's got going on with MVP is really cool. I've never been familiar with MVP before, but I really like the way that he presents himself, and I definitely think that he's a great fit for Lashley's manager. So let's talk about the storyline of the night here, because I'm actually quite into it, quite excited to talk about it. MVP appears during a Lashley promo. He interrupts and says that him and Lashley won't be doing business because Lashley's too focused on clowns like R-Truth. He asks Lashley what would happen if he locked that same full Nelson in on Drew McIntyre instead, and before Lashley can even answer, MVP interrupts again and tells him, "You have no idea what would happen because it's been 13 years since you went for someone on that level." He asks him once again, "When are you gonna let Lashley free?" Love that line, loved it when he said it last week, still think it works as a question that he keeps asking Lashley because it's just going to keep him motivated. Love it. Later on, Lashley has a match with R-Truth, if you can call it a match. It's more of an extended murder. He throws Truth knees to the midsection, and in the end he locks him in the full Nelson, gives him a full Nelson slam, keeps him locked in, and holds it on until Truth taps. Meanwhile, we get this awesome promo with Drew McIntyre with Charlie, and he says that he doesn't know whether he finds the fight or the fight finds him, but either way, he's having fun. Every Monday is a good night for a Claymore party. He talks about Baron and the Invitational, so he says that the Invitational allows for some dream matches, and he's getting his dream match against Baron Corbin, who he says is a terrible person who does terrible things to people in the ring and does whatever whatever it takes to win. But if he thinks that he can wander around his show demanding things that he doesn't deserve and causing trouble, he asks him if he's out of his mind, buddy, in Drew's voice, not mine. And he sounds so tough when he says that. I would run the other way if he talked to me like that. He promises that he's going to have a Claymore fit for a king again. Then, before Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre have a match, MVP appears with Lashley and he puts over both men. He talks about the fact that you don't really need to say much more about Drew than the fact that he has the title. He puts over Baron by saying, "Didn't you even retire Kurt Angle?" Which is a great way to get heat, bringing that back up, because most people want to forget that. He says that Lashley's got something to say, and Lashley tells Drew that he's coming for Drew, he's coming for the championship, and if he has to pry it from Drew's cold dead hands, then he will. Nice line. Bobby Lashley actually works a lot better when he has to say few words. I did think that cold dead hands line was actually quite impactful and did make me think, wow, Drew's on notice now, gonna love to see how he reacts to this. As for the match with Corbin, it goes pretty much as you'd expect. Corbin tries to take advantage of any slip-ups Drew might make. He focuses his offense on Drew's throat. He avoids a Claymore at one point, goes to the outside and manages to take advantage as Drew's making his way out of the ring. The problem is that every time he hits Drew with something that he thinks might put him away, Drew just kicks out at one. Clothesline, out at one. Superplex, out at one. Into the post, out at one. Even it's a deep six, and that I think is barely gets a 2 count. Just love the way Drew is booked here. I love how strong he is, just kicking out at one, and it's even barely one. And Drew's just Baron, is just getting more and more frustrated. Drew, when he's on top, is talking a lot of trash to Baron, and there's this one point where he's waiting for Baron to get up, and he's just yelling at him, "You wanted this, you wanted the chance to prove that you're good enough, now get the hell up and prove it to me." Again, in his angry, scary Scottish voice that I would make me melt if I was Baron. I don't know how he doesn't just run straight out of the Performance Centre and down the highway into another state. I just really don't. He gets the Future Shock DDT at one point, sets up for the Claymore, he's counting down, and that's when he gets hit with that deep six. Then, before long, he counters the end of days with a headbutt and pops off the Claymore, picks up the win, and post-match he's just yelling at Lashley. He's like, I've been waiting, the fans have been waiting for Lashley to stand up, be the killer that you can be, I want a fight. Perfect, mate. That is how you do this angle. I just think that they did it perfectly, man. I'm really interested to see Lashley versus McIntyre. I've heard good things about their match that they had 4 years ago. I've heard good things about Lashley when he's with MVP as well, I think, and I'm just looking forward to it. At the end of the day, Lashley is a big, scary dude that Drew can take on, and he's probably going to win and retain his title, but it's a really good way of having Drew just put down someone big and scary and really, really putting over how powerful Drew is. I love the fact that Drew's kicking out at one of things. Yeah, is he getting the Lesnar treatment? Yes. Is it different? Yes, because at the same time, I know McIntyre loves this business. I know that he left WWE, made a name for himself, came back, he's worked hard, and the fact that he's now just this beast, man, it's just exactly what I want out of my champion. And I just love it. This whole angle was great, and I really think that MVP and Lashley have got something special going here. I can't wait to see how well Drew's reign goes over time, because I really think that he could get a fantastic run out of this if they keep it on him for quite a while. Personally, for me, Royal Rumble time, I'd let him keep it till around then, or at the very least, Survivor Series. He needs to keep it until we're back in front of fans, because he needs to play off the fans, even though I think that it's absolutely perfect the way that he talks to the camera and treats the camera as if it's the audience. Love it, man. Can't talk about it enough. Number 3. I honestly can't get enough of Asuka right now. I'd heard so many good things about her while I wasn't watching, but I wasn't prepared for how much I was going to enjoy her performance. This whole Becky Lynch pregnancy thing has created a really genuine, endearing story that I am highly enjoying, to be honest. It allowed for that moment of Asuka realising that she won last week, which was a truly joyful, really, really enjoyable moment, and she's still riding that wave this week. But because Asuka's kind of similar to Drew McIntyre, which may sound ridiculous at first, but she has the endearing, goofy side that she can switch and turn into a terrifying destroyer that you just wouldn't mess with. And it's the same thing with Drew, where he's got his charming charisma that he switches into violence. And it's just that same thing, and I think that's why I like them so much. It seems so natural. They're not just one thing. You know, Asuka's not just a goofy, endearing person. She's also really tough, and she's not just tough, she's also all the other stuff. Same with Drew. And I just really, really enjoy it. So we get Kairi coming out, and she kicks off a celebration of Asuka, her partner, her friend, the champion. Asuka comes out and they have an excited conversation. I have no idea what they're saying, but it just sounds so excited, and two friends being really happy and excited for this whole situation that it just, again, I really don't care. It's so endearing. And Kairi lists off Asuka's achievements. Then they celebrate the fact that Asuka is a Grand Slam champion. And again, that was really cool. Then Nia Jax comes out and spoils the fun. Thanks, Nia. I really didn't want to see you here right now. She comes out and she says that there's nothing to celebrate because Asuka just got handed the championship because Becky can't fight anymore. She slowly tries to explain to Asuka that Becky's on maternity leave, which means that Asuka looked away into the best temp job ever, but soon she'll be replaced by someone more worthy of the championship, Nia. And I just couldn't disagree more, Nia. I don't want to see you with that championship, and good luck trying to get it out. Good luck trying to get it out of Asuka's hands, because that's not going to go well for you. She's about to tell Asuka to chill because Asuka's getting all pissed off, but she doesn't have the time to because Asuka just goes straight after her, starts attacking her, sends her out of the ring. Later we get a short little bit with Kairi, where Nia comes in and attacks Kairi, and then a little bit later, again, we get one where Asuka's checking if Kairi's okay, and then she goes off and attacks Nia. I can't say that I enjoyed Nia's character here. She seems to be trying something new. She said, well, when I'm champion, you best believe we're going to have a real party. And I just really didn't like the delivery, but maybe it's because I'm just so into Asuka right now. I'm just a little bit worked, and I just don't want Nia to be champ, so I'm just going to be against her. But that's the way that it's supposed to be, so that's not that bad. I really, really enjoy the fact that when Asuka goes off on one, she just starts ranting in Japanese, and it's just so scary. I haven't seen, but it sounds so terrifying with her rolling R's and just spitting the words out, and just, oh man, it's amazing. And I think that Nia versus Asuka could be a really, really cool match. I know that I think they had matches in NXT, if I'm not mistaken, that were pretty good. So I'm quite excited to see where they go with that. I really, really think that it's a good idea, actually, because, again, it's the same thing as with Lashley taking on Drew. Nia's a great opponent for Asuka to have to put to bed those accusations of just being handed the championship and looking her way into a temp job. She can defeat Nia and really cement herself as a champion that deserves to be champion, even though we all know she deserves it. The heels don't think she does, but no one can argue when she puts down Nia. So yeah, really, really enjoyed all this stuff too. Number 4. Kevin Owens is back, and he uses his return to just shatter Zelena Vega's stable in what is probably the only Kevin Owens show segment that I can remember that I've ever enjoyed. I actually thought it was a really enjoyable segment. So he comes out, he introduces the Kevin Owens show, talks about the fact that he's been away for a while. He says that he got the WrestleMania moment that he wanted, but it banged him up in the process and he had to take some time off. Now he's back. Kevin Owens show returns, and his first guests are Zelena Vega and her boys. Zelena comes out and she says that she's angry at Owens because she knows that Owens only got them on the show because he wanted a Jerry Springer-esque episode. She says that Owens, just like the fans and just like Drew McIntyre, assume that one argument means that there's dysfunction in the stable and that her empire is crumbling, which she denies. She says that Andrade is a god amongst insects like Kevin Owens. Garza is a lethal Lothario that breaks hearts and faces, and that Austin Theory is a 22-year-old prodigy and he's just this damn good already. She even accuses Owens of being disrespectful for not being in the ring with her, and Owens just tells her that if anything he's given her more respect by letting her have the ring to herself, and points out that that when he's in the ring with more than one person it never really goes well for him. Besides, it'd get a little bit crowded because they aren't his only guests, and out comes Apollo Crews to just go down to the ring and attack Andrade. This leads to a tag match between Owens and Apollo Crews taking on Garza and Andrade. This is a complete Andrade just trying to avoid Apollo Crews, but he keeps getting got by him. The real problem for the faction, though, is when Theory tries to get involved towards the end of the match. He throws a shot and it goes wide, it hits Garza, and then that leads to Garza getting hit with the toss powerbomb and Apollo Crews pinning him. And post-match, Garza and Andrade just beat the hell out of Theory. They start screaming at him that, Theory tries to defend himself and says that it's an accident, and either Andrade or Garza, I'm not sure which one, as they're beating him up and just throwing him into things, and they're just going, "This is an accident! This is an accident!" You can just hear poor Austin Theory getting thrown around here and there, smashed into this and chairs and all sorts going on, which is just a brilliant way to have him kicked out of the faction. Zelena screams at him that he's useless and she should never have believed in him, and just sends him from her faction straight into the arms of Seth Rollins in the process. And that is good storytelling in my opinion, because Theory can really his part in Rollins' stable now could be really interesting, because he could be utterly loyal to Rollins now, and Rollins picking up Theory as this person that's been cast aside and just rejected and abandoned, I think it just works really well, and I loved everything about this sort of branching Seth Rollins storyline, but I wasn't really talking about that. It's good to have Kevin Owens back. It would be interesting to see where he actually goes in terms of his rivalry. It'd be fun to see him in a tag team, because has Owens actually held the tag team championships yet? And I don't know who he would team with, but there's all sorts of possibilities. It was good to see him back. I'm not a massive fan of Owens, but I did enjoy this segment, and I think that it was a really good way to break up Zelena's faction, and hopefully we should see some more of him over the next couple of weeks. Number 5. I really think that I'm going to struggle to talk about this segment, because it just makes me really emotional, to be honest. There's one thing in WWE that I really enjoy. It's the IIconics, and it just really wasn't a good week for them this week, guys. They had a tag title match against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, which really didn't go well for them. Alexa got in plenty of offense. She was hitting palm strikes. She got the insult to injury at one point, but the cover gets broken up. She goes for a twisted bliss. She gets that, and I think that Peyton must have just snapped. I think she saw the chances of winning those titles getting further and further away, and I think that she just lost it, man. She just sends Alexa into the post and starts attacking her, and she just doesn't stop attacking her until the ref disqualifies her. Then backstage a little bit later on, Billy catches up with her, and Billy's very, very angry, and she's screaming at Peyton that this was the one chance that they had to win the titles back. And then, well, she slaps her, guys. I couldn't believe it. These two are best friends. They have the most pure and beautiful friendship in the whole of WWE, and for Billy to just do something like this is just a massive shock, and she must be under such stress. She immediately regrets it. She breaks down, she says that she can't believe that she just did it, and she tells Peyton that she loves her. I don't know what happened with Peyton because she doesn't say anything, and so I don't know if she just walked off, but man, I hope that they can make it up. I really, really don't want them to break up. In all seriousness, I really, really don't want them to break up, and I hope that they don't. This could easily just be one of those things where they tease a breakup and actually they become stronger friends than even before, if that's even possible. But yeah, I really hope that this isn't a sign of the IIconics breaking up, because they've got such a good dynamic between them, and I don't think that they would have much luck in singles run. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with this over the next couple of weeks. Really, really not a good week really not a good week for the IIconics, I should say. Poor Peyton. She must have felt absolutely heartbroken in that moment. Honourable mentions. Let's roll through all these honourable mentions. Charlotte Flair defeats Ruby Riott in a fairly easy match. At one point, Ruby avoids a chop from Charlotte. Charlotte chops the post, and Ruby spends a few minutes trying to work Charlotte's arm. This isn't successful. Charlotte gets the figure 8. Ruby has to tap out. Liv Morgan cuts a promo where she says that her mother was her hero, her idol, and she is her mother's daughter. Despite losing to Charlotte Flair a few weeks back, she is determined to become the women's champion. My God, Seth, get in there. She's right for the picking. She will become one of your disciples, and I really, really want to see that happen. I know that I'm not the only one. Shayna Baszler defeats Natalya in a submissions match that I'm sure would have been fun to watch, but you know, Tom Phillips. This defeat sends Natalya crazy. She attacks all the people setting up the Kevin Owens show, and presumably now we're getting a heel Natalya. The Street Profits and the Viking Raiders take each other on in a friendly axe-throwing competition. We get a couple of cool moments, like all the Vikings doing the stomp stomp clap from the We Will Rock You song, and a couple of little jokes that I even caught despite not being able to see it. I couldn't enjoy it as much as other people possibly did, but I still found it fairly entertaining. Edge accepts Randy Orton's challenge after Randy goads him, saying that Edge's grit and determination, his passion has gone. Edge cuts a promo on him, saying that Randy didn't choose this business, it was what was handed to him. He didn't dream about it as a child. He didn't save up to go to the shows. He didn't cry when he won his first Intercontinental Championship like Edge did, like the Locker Room did. He says that Randy doesn't love this business, and in the end accepts the challenge. So now we're going to get the best wrestling match ever. Can't wait for that, I guess. I actually really enjoyed Edge's performance here, so although I'm joking, I did think that it was a good promo. Well, if you've got anything to say about this week's Raw or this episode of Wrestling in the Dark, you know where the comment section is, or you can find me on Twitter at Mason_WITD. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, or else. Or else what? Exactly. I'm off, and you should have a good one.